James and I went to school together, so he knows we used to cut up in school. And our principal, Dr. Blazewitz, when I went across the stage, I was late for graduation, by the way.
Wow.
But when I finally went across the stage to get my diploma, you know, you shake the principal's hand.
Yeah.
And we all had given him nails because he would always say that we were going to be the nails to his coffin. So we all had given him nails as a little joke. And he says, Miss Knox, I did not think I'd see you here. And I said, Dr. Blazers, I didn't think you'd hang in long enough. So, you know, that was the thing. So I ended up going to Tuskegee all because of a school counselor, Ophelia Colt, who I'll never forget. She tricked me into taking my ACT. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I never applied to Tuskegee. As a matter of fact, I told her I wanted to go to HBCU just because I thought that would shock her. I didn't know anything about HBCU. I knew a little bit, but not really, you know? And so I said that, but I think Ms. Cope felt like this girl has a lot of potential. Let me get her out of her own way. Mm-hmm. And so one day I decided to sign up for the military and promptly got cussed out by our daddy.
You were in ROTC, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in ROTC, and I decided I was going to sign up for the military because I didn't have another plan after high school, and I knew I couldn't live with Mom. Okay. So I politely got cussed out by Daddy, and he was like, "You're an idiot." Or you know what he used to call us, idiots? He was like, "You're an idiot. Why would you do that?" You know, I
have one homeboy, not to cut you off, but I have one homeboy, his background, his family is from the islands. So he's always talking about how, like, you know, his family used to always tell him he should go to the military. And I tell him, like, all the men in my family, they, like, when they were growing up, the draft was still a thing. Mm-hmm. And they all told me, don't ever go to that man's army.
And that's exactly what Daddy was saying. Mm-hmm. You know, even Uncle John, who was so sweet and wouldn't cuss or say anything harmful, he was like, "Lisa, that's the worst decision you could ever have made in the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I hope your daddy forgive you one day." I remember standing at the phone like, wow, because Uncle John would never say anything other than, you know, "That's my niece, I'm proud of you." Mm-hmm. And so I decided, I was cleaning my bedroom one day because I had some broken heart. I was cleaning my bedroom and found a $1,000 scholarship to Tuskegee. And, you know, at that point, we didn't have anything. I thought $1,000 was a lot of money. Let's do it. Yeah. I found out I want to stay on a Sunday, but I had to be at Tuskegee on a Tuesday. So I had to get some stuff done. And that Monday, I was working. I was getting paperwork done. You know, Dr. Blazers was like, "I can't get your records that fast." And I was like, "Dr. Blazers, you know, this is the difference. I'll have to sit out." And he was like, "Okay, let's see what we can do." And a lot of people pulled a lot of strings to make it happen for me. Because now I sit back and I'm like, giving a 17-year-old her school records to trust her to copy them and come back with them, like, that was crazy. Who does that? But it worked out, you know. And I remember talking to my Aunt Priscilla, who worked at UCF. University of Central Florida, and she was like, "Your mother went to UCF. I went to UCF. I work here. I can get you in for January." Because we didn't have a car and we needed a way to get to Alabama. And I remember telling her, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll wait till January. Well, I'll only be like 3 or 4 months pregnant then." And my Aunt Priscilla, who, mind you, is my mother's best friend, right? And this is another story about love because she was my mother's best friend. For her, my mom had stopped talking to her for some reason. It wasn't like they fell out. My mom had stopped talking to her for some reason. But here I am, my mother's daughter, and I'm telling her, "Hey, I need to get to Alabama. You know, it's Sunday. I need to get there by Tuesday."
Can I connect a few dots for you for the people who are listening? Tuskegee is in Alabama. It's part of where they did the Tuskegee experiments, the Tuskegee Airmen, all that comes from there. Also, in the Black community, when your parent has a friend who's really close to them, they're just automatically an aunt or an uncle.
Right. Yeah. And everybody has a title. Everybody has a title.
So it wasn't your aunt by birth, but that's your auntie. I got you. Go ahead.
To this day.
Okay.
And so I told her, I said, "Well, okay, wait till January. I'll only be like 2 or 3 months." And she was like, "Pack it up. Let's go." Because she wasn't going to be okay with me being pregnant. Here's another thing.
That was a different time. Nowadays, they throw kids baby showers at 10 years old.
That was a different time. And the reason being, so her daughter, I want to say her daughter was pregnant around that time. I told her she was pregnant around that time.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing. Like, okay, you know what? We're going to stop this. It wasn't a matter of, well, my daughter's going through it, so you're going to go through it. No, it was a matter of each one reach one.
Yeah.
You know? And that was also love. Here it is. You doing something for this woman who literally just stopped being petty.
Yeah.
And took me to Tuskegee. Took me and my mama to Tuskegee, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about financial aid. Looking at it now, being a mom, realizing my mom was terrified. She never tried to stop me. She challenged me. She was like, well, find a way. If you can find a way to make that happen. And then I did, and she sort of had to eat her words. And she did.
Well, I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of y'all. You all, you know, that's a harebrained idea. And everybody had my back. Everybody was like, okay, this is what she's doing. You know?
Yeah.
And so Mom and Aunt Priscilla dropped me off at Tuskegee, and I remember we were standing in line. I just got in my dorm room because we didn't know how any of this worked.
Yeah.
And I just got in my dorm room. I told my mom, I said, okay, well, I'm going to go and talk to my roommate, my new roommate, and I'll be right back. And she said, okay. And I came back to the dorm room, and they had put my dorm room together, and there was a note on the door that chocolate melts in the summertime, and so do we. We'll see you for Christmas break. And I was hurt. They just left me.
You know, it's so funny. The same thing happened to me when I went to Job Corps.
Yeah.
When I went to Job Corps, we went to the airport, and we were sitting there. It was me, my mom, and my Aunt Ann, rest her soul. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting there, and my flight got canceled like 2 or 3 times. So after a while, my mom was like, well, I'm going to go and, you know, have a safe trip, son. And I'm sitting there like terrified. I'm like, what the hell you mean have a safe trip? You sending me off to live by myself, essentially.
Yeah. And that was your first flight too, right?
That was my first flight. And after years of thinking my mom had abandoned me, I was like in my late 20s, early 30s, and we was having that conversation. And she was like, the recruiter told me to leave you because she could see in your face that you were getting restless and you were going to try to go back home. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, what you're saying and what you're alluding to basically is, you know, you have a lot of people in your corner, even when you don't realize it,
right?
Who wants you to succeed.
And that was the case because I promise you, I would have come up with a reason to go back home.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, we tried it and we know we could have done it. Now we don't want to. Let's go back home where everything's normal. And I called my mom collect every day for like a week.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I learned my lesson.
Yeah. I was ready to come home that first 2 months.
Yeah. And I think that's also, so, you know.
Shink Job Corps, North Carolina.
What'd you say?
I was giving a shout out, you know, the way you love Tuskegee, Shink Job Corps, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Cradle Hall.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. So we should tell your audience, you know, when you went away to Job Corps, I was devastated. So I didn't have the grace that you had because when you went away to Job Corps, I was devastated. I felt like my best friend is leaving, like, and he's leaving and didn't even talk to me about this, like, didn't even get my opinion on it. But looking back, you know, your mom did what she needed to do to protect you because we have a lot of friends now who, you know, their lives forever changed in that time.
Yeah. So let's keep this thing moving. Do you want to get into your law, how you got your law degree before? Because I know you can talk about Tuskegee forever. You want to talk about where you got your law degree from?
So, it all boils down to spite. I have a master's from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. So I have a master's in industrial organizational psychology with a focus on consumer psychology. And I got that because I worked for a school. And they were like, hey, we're not doing any raises for you this year. And I was like, oh, no? Will y'all still pay for school? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I want the most expensive program. I didn't care what it was.
Okay.
Ended up with a 3.95 on that. So I was like, okay, great.
Okay. About
2 years later, I get sick. I have to learn how to walk again. My son, your nephew, was very precocious. He was born an old man.
Okay.
And he challenged me to go to law school. He challenged me to do something I'd always been afraid to do. I always thought about doing.
Is that how you went to law school?
That is how I went to law school, on the challenge of a 7-year-old girl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that story.
When I told him I'll go to law school, he was like, okay, so that's a lot going on. But I did, and I talked with God. It was really an act of faith. Because I talked with God and I was like, Lord, if you want me to go to law school, you'll make it happen. I'm not going to do anything extra other than the bare minimum. You'll make it happen. Because just for your audience's sake, at that time I had a business. I had my own business and it was thriving and doing well. And then I got sick, and I got so sick that I had to learn how to walk again.
Yeah. So where did you get your law degree from?
Barry University in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got my law degree, went in on a scholarship, not a full scholarship, don't get excited. Got my law degree, graduated, and took the bar, and thank God passed it on the first try.
And how long have you been practicing?
This is my 6th year. I'm going to hit my 6th anniversary soon.
Congratulations. And what is the biggest thing, like, to this day that surprises you about family law?
The biggest thing that surprises me still, and it's sort of funny, I'm not like I'm jaded, but I'm just sort of like, it's entertaining to me. It's of interest to me that a lot of people don't see that they're the problem. Not necessarily they're the problem, the reason why they're getting a divorce, but they just don't see that they're the problem in the process. They're making the process more strenuous. They're, the same thing they're accusing the other side of, they're doing it. They just don't see it. It's almost like nose blindness to stank. Like you've been living in stank for so long, you don't realize it stinks.
Yeah.
That's sort of how it is with everything. It's always, he's so horrible. He's a narc. Everyone was married to a narcissist. Okay. Or she's so horrible, she doesn't know what she wants. No woman knows what she wants,
Yeah.
It's all about the money on both sides. These are things that I hear that are common, and it's funny because these same people sometimes display these same, characteristics that they're accusing the other party of having.
What made you go into family law? Like, is it the most lucrative practice? Like, what made you want to go into family law?
So I didn't want to go into family law, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I didn't want to go into family law. I knew when I started practicing, or when I was in law school even, I knew I was not going to do family law, and I wasn't going to do criminal law. Okay. My thought was I would do corporate law, I'll do business law, negotiations like that. That's where money is. Okay. Securities and so forth. I was going to do, 9 to 5 kind of stuff and make 6 figures. Okay. What happened, though, was God was like, no, you're doing family law. So the first law firm I was at was serving the Hispanic population. Okay. I didn't speak Spanish. They needed somebody who spoke Spanish. I didn't speak Spanish. Okay. But I had this excellent mentor, Omar Carmona. I would never, ever, I love Omar and his family because literally he gave me so much guidance and mentorship.
Shout out to Omar.
Absolutely. And I told him, hey, I don't want to do family law. He said, great, we do civil law. Ended up doing family law. Learning family law. So I said, okay, not a worry. My next job, I'm not going to do family law. So
now here's a big question before you keep going forward. Do you speak Spanish?
No, I don't speak Spanish. I speak Spanish enough to get by when I'm in Spanish-speaking countries. Like when I'm in Spain, I can make it through. Okay. When I'm in Mexico, I can make it through. Okay. But it's like Dora the Explorer. Okay. Okay. So then my next job was with CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, where I had another amazing, I've really been blessed. I had another amazing mentor. Her name is Tanya Clevenger.
Shout out to Tanya. Do you speak Arabic?
No.
Okay.
No, the only thing I know how to say Arabic is thank you. Okay. And I went there, and that was basically to work in civil rights. And so I was like, hey, I definitely won't do family law there. And would you believe family law cases came? Right? They were at one point, they were like, wow, we're getting a lot of family law, Lisa. Oh, okay, this is the life. But I'm an intern, right? So I can't go to court all these days, but I know what forms to fill out. I could talk with the lawyers about it and so forth. So I was like a paralegal in that instance. So then I was like, okay, you know what, Lord? I'm done with this. I'm definitely not doing family law. And so I had this teacher who was like, hey, Brenda London, who was like, hey, do collaborative, take my collaborative law class, because it's a peaceful way to divorce and all that. And I'm like, I'm definitely not doing that. I remember telling her, you all are a bunch of tree hugging hippies. You're supposed to, scorch earth. We're supposed to fight it out, like what I've seen on TV, right? And she was like, no, that's, this is a whole different way. So I needed the credits. And Professor London was not going to back